Production and performance, animatronics and flumes. You are now tuned in to the Disney Holic Show.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Holic Show. That's Mike TV.
And that's Jen Diz.
It's a wrap on D23 2024, and we're ready to share all the thrills from the Parks and Experience panel. Join us as we break down the latest magical updates. So D23 is a wrap, and there's so much to talk about.
So much.
So this will definitely be divided into at least 2 episodes.
At least 15 episodes.
You're absolutely more accurate. Let's just be real, right?
Oh my goodness.
So we're gonna start off though with the one that we are both just like, what's a really good saying for being really excited,
like hard up,
bursting at the seams or whatever. We need to talk about the Parks and Experience panel because that is where all the stuff that's going on in the lands are, right? So
yes, we are bricked up and ready to talk about this right away. Before we even get to
like a young people term, because I don't even know that one.
What? Bricked up, I think, means when you have a boner. So we have like a Disney boner.
Oh, we do.
We have a
I've
Disney
had
boner.
a Disney boner for like a week solid.
And what's really cool this time, which we'll talk about in more detail after the parks, but what was really cool and unique this time was you were there in person and I was following along digitally. And, like experiences were kind of different because I was able to like dig in and all the things while it was happening. Meanwhile, you're in the excitement of it, living it. And so we hope those two things come together when we talk about the parks panel because there's so much going on. And while you were still enjoying the wonderful expo, I was deep into the YouTubes, into the content creators, into the blogs, and we have some pretty cool details. So the panel was called Horizons, and we're going to specifically talk about the parks and resorts announcements. We're going to even skip over like international and cruises because that's just too overwhelming. We want to talk about the parks that matter most to us.
Yes.
Disney World and Disneyland.
That's right.
And the first thing I want to say is that the panel itself, I was watching again on streaming from many of the Disney fans out there that were live streaming it. Thank you so much. I even sent like YouTube tips and I saw them making bank because a lot of people really appreciated it. But you were there live, and to me, it just seemed like full on an entertainment fandango at its finest, well produced. Music throughout, which was part of the announcements and the storytelling, and hosted by two amazing, talented triple threats. One who you and I both love, Darren Criss. Were you surprised to see him there as one of the hosts?
I was, I want to say super surprised because I know like he was at the last Expo and he's pretty involved in the Disney community. So, but like to see him hosting the panel, I was very surprised. Yes.
Like we were proud of him, right? Like proud of our guy.
I know, he's like one of us. One of us.
He totally is. And then Skylar Aston, who's the other co-host. I like him too. He's like a Broadway. He's also was in Pitch Perfect and some of those movies. But the whole thing gave me an Academy Award Oscars vibe. In fact, Jerry walked in while I was watching on the big screen. I put YouTube like on the TV, and he was like, are these the Academy Awards?
Oh my God, stop.
Yeah, I was like, no, this is the thing that I go to every year, every 2 years. See what I'm missing?
Oh my God, that is such great feedback from somebody who like doesn't care about Disney like we do. And like, oh, that's so cool. Sorry, that was really cool.
It's really cool. And he lives for these type of things. Like he watches the Apple yearly town halls and the developers conference. So he loves that stuff, like the insiders giving the news and high production quality and everything. And then what's funny was I was thinking in my mind, oh my God, I love Darren and I love Skylar, but this is the Oscars. They should have got Billy Crystal. And then before I could even finish my thought, Billy Crystal comes out on stage, classic Oscars host from like the 80s, 90s. And he was there to talk about one of the confirmed projects. So should we just get into it?
We should, but let me say two things really
Yeah.
quick. A lot of people kept saying that this is our Super Bowl, right, for the
Yeah.
Disneyholics. And I was always like, yeah, I agree. However, I had a moment where I was sitting there and whoever was sitting next to me, I think it was my friend Laura, I looked at her and I was like, screw the Super Bowl. This is our Oscars. Like this is like
Yes.
now next level. And so I started like questioning myself if I'm just like hyped because of like how it feels. Does it feel different? Does it look different? Like what exactly? And I was having trouble comparing it to how it used to feel. Well, last night I was sitting here with Lisa, happiest vegan on earth, shout out.
Shout
And me and her
out.
were watching some recaps from previous years at Hall D23, right? Oh my God, the production value is like so sad in comparison to what we got this last weekend. So it really did step it up about like 1.5 notches.
Yes. Like, yeah, so much more. Like, not just a little notch, right? You said 1,000 notches. And I think part of it was the venue change. It was like a
Oh yeah,
freaking
for sure.
concert. I don't even know. And I'm sitting on the
Capabilities that they
couch.
have there for a production level like that.
Yeah, the
And that Disney
screens were
embraced it
massive.
to hell, right? Let's go.
Huge. Like it was giving Taylor Swift, it was giving BTS concert. You guys had all those lighted bracelets. And again, I was
Right.
sitting on the couch and I was freaking out. And you were there in person. So I can't even
Ooh, it
imagine.
came through the screen. That's a
It
good
came through the
sign.
screen. I saw there was a drone camera recording buzzing around. I was like, this is full on. And whoever they gave to do this, it reminds me of work. You know, we always think business minded. And like they gave this to the entertainment team this year instead of the corporate events team.
Right.
And it shows like it wasn't a PowerPoint presentation anymore. It was like a full on show,
Yep.
Fandango. Oh God, I loved it. Okay, so Billy Crystal comes out. So let's talk about that first major project, which was announced
Yes.
at Disney World Hollywood Studios. We are getting a Monsters Inc. themed land, not just an attraction, a full-on land,
Right.
described as laughter thereafter when a new space dedicated to Sully, Mike, and all the other jokesters, they used to be scarers in that building, arrive
Ooh.
at Hollywood Studios. So it seems like too they're gonna do bring back the actors for the voices because Billy was there and probably John Goodman will do Sully and all the other voices. But they talked about a coaster. So there's going to be a one of its kind roller coaster, indoor roller coaster themed to the infamous door scene from the original Monsters Inc. that even Josh D'Amaro mentioned, like we all first watched that movie whenever you first watched it and thought, oh my God, what a cool ride the Door
Right.
Factory would be, right? And so we're finally getting it, what, 20 something years later. It's going to be cool. They even had a mock-up of the model of it. I'm not sure if you caught that in the expo floor. It opened up the next day
Oh, I
in
did
those
not get
secret
to see any
rooms.
of the reveal rooms. The lines were insane and we just
Oh my
didn't have
goodness.
time.
I bet, because the people
Bummer.
wanted to know what was behind it. But yeah, everybody could check that out. Like you said, look on people's content. It looks like a small building with a lot of inclines and curves that are going to be happening. It's the first suspended roller coaster for Disney, which means you're hanging underneath. And the coaster itself is powered by, guess what? Laughs and screams. So it's
Oh,
laughs and screams. So it's gonna push, that's what's rocketing your yellow chair
how
forward.
cute.
And then you follow along the actual door track, which Mike and Sully will be taking you along. So I am so excited about it. It looks like the land is also going to have Harryhausen's, which is the cool looking monster sushi restaurant from the movie, which is
Aw,
a nice addition. We always like a nice sit down if that's going to be a sit down.
we have that in. Oh, we're gonna get the actual restaurant. And then we have the restaurant already in the attraction at DCA, but it's not real.
Yes, which is one of the best scenes when you drive through that, right?
And
Love
you can
it.
like smell the ginger.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
So now you get to eat the real ginger.
very cool.
Now, so that's confirmed. It's official. Let's let everybody know that at the beginning of this entire panel, Josh D'Amaro, head of Disney Experiences, was very clear and is listening to the fans in social media. He was straight up and said, "This is not blue sky. Dirt and earth are moving. Everything is in active development that we are talking about today. So let's be clear about that. But I'll also make sure when we're talking about speculation that that's clear because everything comes along with a little fan speculation.
Right.
And the biggest part of all the speculation for most of these projects we're going to talk about is where and how,
Right. That's
right?
like the
And
first thing that will
yep.
come out of our mouth, and any of them, like, where? Like, it's
Where?
just like we would literally all scream it out, but in excitement, not like a negative way, just like, what? What? What do you mean,
Yep.
where?
So fun. So fun to speculate. The Disney fans seem to be pretty split on Monsters Inc. specifically. So a lot of people think that the Monsters Inc. land is going to take over what's called the animation courtyard, which includes the Disney Junior Show, Star Wars Launch Bay, and used to be actual animator studios that you could tour back in the day during MGM. And then there's another group of fans who to me just feel like I just feel like they want to be sad. And they keep saying it's taking the Muppets Grand Plaza, which I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, Disney World's a tough one for me because I know they have so much real estate out there that it seems
Right.
like they have the capabilities of like not even killing anything in there, but they also have a lot of dead space in that park.
Yeah.
So it would be smart for them to fill the gaps rather than build it out. However, that park is pretty small, so it wouldn't hurt to build it out either,
Yeah.
right? So I am not too sure. I feel like the Muppets area has had speculation of it getting replaced for a while now, even though people didn't have any idea with what.
Yeah.
Now we have a what, so it's going to be even like heavier speculation on that area. Um, and I don't know. I have a few eating my word moments from this panel that now I'm like, maybe it is going to be that. Maybe people know stuff that just,
Right.
I don't know how they know it, but maybe they know it. So I'm not sure. What do you think?
I think it's gonna take over Animation Courtyard because, like you said, that's like such a dead space. There's a lot of those in Hollywood studios, and that one's front and center. You walk straight into the park, and if you go left or straight, it's really cool. If you turn right, it's like, okay, what is this empty
Yeah.
space? Star Wars Launch Bay, if we recall, even when it first opened at Disneyland, was supposed to be temporary and just to be the blue sky cellar for upcoming Star Wars attractions and the blue sky cellar for upcoming films. And that was it. And gosh, they've left it there for way too long. It's stale. The meet and greets are cool, but you could put them in Galaxy's Edge. So the thing is, the concept art, they release a lot of concept art. So at least at the time of this recording on Tuesday before our published episode, the concept art looks like it could fit into either of those theories,
Mhm.
which doesn't help. But I honestly, I have faith that they're not going to get rid of the Muppets because I feel like Josh would have said, go check out the Muppets or something while you still have time. He did that with a couple of other projects, like the dinosaur ride. So I don't know. And that Italian restaurant, Mama Melrose by the Muppets, is really popular. So I can't see them taking that away for like a
Is
sushi
that
restaurant.
a Muppets themed restaurant?
It's not. It's really
It's not,
weird.
right? Okay.
It's really weird. It should be. Wait a minute. I lied. Wait, no. Okay, here it is. It used
Uh,
to be. You used to be. I'm remembering we did an episode about the history of the Muppets. It used to be originally conceived to have like the chef popping in and throwing things and like chickens coming out from the
I think
ceiling.
that's where my brain was going right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's Mama Melrose? But I remember that having something to do with the Muppets.
Yeah. So it's just like very Hollywood instead. And then there's that massive store dedicated to the Muppets that's been closed for 6, 7 years,
Yeah,
which
that's kind of crazy. Also, the one thing I was thinking about for some reason, and I don't have any idea, but they don't seem to do this for anything else anyway. But I would like that if they have a Monsters Inc. area, that they move Monster Inc. laugh floor into it, and they would already have the theater there for that,
it would
right?
be so good. I was thinking the same. It reminds me of like Star Tours, like we want to move it to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, yeah. Like let's get everything together. It's
Like
weird
nice and
spread out stuff.
organized. Move
Right.
Astro Blasters in Disneyland to Pixar Pier, please.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, I agree with that. Luckily, they're in different parks in this case, but it would be so perfect to have Laugh Floor a door ride, a restaurant, and then just a walk around immersive area, that would be perfect.
Hmm.
So we'll find out. All of these things are supposed to either start or be open within the next couple of years. That was their promise to us.
Oh, that's right. So wait, this whole land is only going to have one attraction then so
One
far.
attraction announced, correct.
That seems weird too. I think most
And
lands have at
small.
least two rides. Yeah. So, that could be
Yeah.
even more reason to like,
Be
you know,
Muppets.
yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, I hope they throw in like a little flat ride or something just for some like
Yeah, the
energy.
little kid version, like
Yeah.
the family friend one. Like they're doing with the cars one. Oh, just kidding, don't jump ahead. Okay,
Oops, don't
carry
jump
on, carry
ahead.
on.
That's a good one. Okay. Speaking of cars, reimagined test track was open, and we love when there's an actual opening date. So some of these projects are so close to completion. So in 2025, that's just next year, the updated test track, which is still sponsored by Chevrolet, which means they threw the money at it. Love it. It's supposed to celebrate the past, present, and future of automation. And in
Mhm.
previous announcements, we've also heard that it will be um, paying tribute to the original World of Motion. So excited for that. Test track is always fun. I just don't want to wait like
And
more
now
than an
this
hour for.
one thing I was having trouble with during this panel is remembering exactly what is new and what is old because there were so many rumors, so many blue sky things, so like there's just so much spread out all over the place that like
Yeah.
I was like trying to remember what was real and what was not. So this one was already announced, but now we've gotten more information on it. Correct?
Yes, correct. And I got you covered because you're right. A lot of what they announced was just more information and confirmation of previous official announcements. So I should mention which ones weren't. So Monsters Inc. Land was, for the most part, out of the blue and
Right.
exciting. Test track we knew, but now we got an opening date and a little bit more of a description. The next one has been announced several times in different ways, which is Tropical Americas, an entire land coming to Animal Kingdom at Disney World. We've seen that in the Blue Sky 2022 D23.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put out more information during like Destination D and in the investors call. But at this expo, we got the official announcements and saying what is actually being built, what's been
Right.
approved. And so there was confirmation that we get a new Indiana Jones e-ticket that is more than likely just going to take the dinosaur track, but they did say it's going to have a brand new story that's specific to tropical Americas. And the concept art they showed looks pretty cool. It has like sort of like this Catholicism thing going on with like the old days, and it has like a cross and the lights are shining on it. So it reminds me of like things that you might see in South America, Latin America.
Interesting.
And
I didn't catch the Catholic vibe there, which I'm surprised I didn't.
yeah,
Now
it looked scary, and I was like, ooh, kind of like
excuse me.
Exorcist or something. Um, but what's cool is, did you catch the MacGuffin? Do you know what a MacGuffin is?
I do not.
So MacGuffin is the plot device in a movie that the characters or the story revolves around that they're trying to get. And Indiana Jones is famous for its MacGuffins because it's always in the title, usually. It's like the thing they're after, whether it's the Ark or um, whatever those rocks were in the Temple of Doom. The Crystal Skull was a MacGuffin. In this one, it's a mythical animal.
Oh.
Genius. This is genius. And I got to say, I bet you Joe Rody was involved in this because they're finally getting the mythical creatures back,
Oh.
right? Into Animal Kingdom. Full circle moment. I mean, the Banshee and Avatar slightly, but still to me, that was like a movie. This is like they're creating a story around this mythical creature, and it's going to be rooted in tropical American culture. So it could go a number of ways. There's all kinds of cool mythical creatures over there. One of the popular theories is going to be, I don't know if I can pronounce this, Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. It's like this bird dinosaur thing, which also could nod to dinosaur. Genius.
Yes. Yep.
And so I had faith. We were thinking, okay, how are they going to shoehorn all these IP but keep it Animal Kingdom? And I think they're making the effort, and that's what else could we ask for?
They got Beastly Kingdom going on. And
Yes.
Wait, where did you see that?
It was part of the concept art they showed on the big screen, but
Okay,
not
I
they didn't
totally
show an
missed it.
animal. They showed the Jeep going through and passing the giant cross with the laser light. So my brain is thinking maybe that's the face of Mara, or that's the part when you're first driving in, is the cross
Right.
thing. Yeah. And it was all like decorated with like rubies and gold. It was really cool. But they didn't show any concept art for
Ooh.
the mythical animal creature. They just talked
Wow,
about it.
this is super cool. I love
Yeah.
that. I didn't even think of the Beastly Kingdom thing at all. That's
So
fun.
good. So good. Ah! I mean, I was screaming on the couch as all this stuff was happening, along with you guys. Okay, so Tropical Americas is going to open in two phases, or actually, I should restate that. It's supposed to open at the same time, the entire land, but they're going to do construction in two phases. The first phase will be the main area of Tropical Americas. We're going to walk into this new sort of Latin-inspired town, which in English translates to, I think, Village of Hope or something. And you go in, and there's going to be this beautiful carousel that they described that's going to be made by Latin American artists, and it's going to pay tribute to all of the animals from Disney stories. So I'm imagining like a really cool interpretation of like a Bambi and a Dumbo and all the animals we love. And who doesn't like a carousel? That's a family favorite, and it's easy. It's beautiful to watch and ride,
Right.
I suppose. And then the big e-ticket here that's being added to the area is an Encanto themed e-ticket attraction. And I don't know if you remember, but we kind of called it on one of these
I was gonna say
episodes.
we did, right? I
We
can't
did.
remember which one of us talked about it, but like,
We were like, yeah, they're gonna go into that kid's door where all the
yep.
animals are. So yeah, it seems like that's a main part of the story. You're gonna get to see the casita, and then it takes place on the day that oh, I forgot his name. Is it Antonio? Where one of the children get their doorknob door or whatever, and then his was all about animals. So you get to go in and see all the animals, and I'm sure it's gonna be themed to animals that exist in tropical Americas. Again, tying it back to Animal Kingdom. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Perfect.
Gotta
You're welcome, Disney.
welcome. We gave you the
Disney
idea.
Holics came up with your ride.
And it looks beautiful. It looks like it's giving me like Haunted Mansion vibes, the way the house is up there, and it looks like you're going into the house, but probably
Right.
the building
Show
is like
building.
behind somewhere. Yeah. And that's gonna all be that one. I don't think is even speculation at that point. This is going where the old roller coaster used to be, and then a little bit behind it. The
Hmm.
carousel is going to replace the Triceratops spin, which is just like that flat Dumbo ride. And then you leave that village and you go deeper into tropical Americas where Dinosaur is today, which is kind of off the beaten path. And so that's going to have its own tropical America Indiana Jones adventure themed stuff. Um, Speculation has been about food. We love food. So there's a pretty popular restaurant there. I think it's Din Dinosaurus Burgers. I don't remember.
It's
Dinosaur.
popular.
It's
I've never ate
popular
there.
enough because it's like fan favorite like burgers and hot dogs and things like easy stuff. And so people are upset that it's closing. Of
Of
course,
course there are. Of
we gotta find
course.
something to be mad about. But hey, if they replace that with like some good South American food or like a Brazilian steakhouse, I'd be happy with that.
Heck yeah. They also, okay, a couple things. First off, the dinosaur Indiana Jones attraction. It sounded like they said they have already started building onto it, but you could still go on the attraction. But it looked like they're pointing at, wasn't it? Weren't they like pointing behind it somewhere? They're doing something behind it.
Ah, yes. So this
And I'm like,
is
are they
where,
adding to the, because right now the track is identical to our Indiana Jones one in Disneyland, right?
yeah.
So are they going to add track and like
I don't
connect
think
it
they're
at
going to
some
add
point?
track. They're probably adding more facade, maybe to be more temple-like instead of museum-like. But this is a good example where Josh D'Amaro, again, now he's listening to the fans. He said, "We are doing this in two phases. Indiana Jones is phase two. So if you like Dinosaur, go and catch Dinosaur now while you can. Love
Right,
it. Love it. He's giving us some time. So yeah, they must be working on like stuff that's not interfering with the current ride.
right.
But
And they
goodbye.
also mentioned, oh, go ahead.
I should say goodbye, Felicia Rashad, Mrs.
Yeah,
Cosby, who was the host.
see ya. Um, I also remember them saying that it was going to feel a little bit like Harambe, where it's like very like the textures and colors and feel of the environment is going to feel very much like you're in a, I don't, did he? Yeah, the tropical America. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the big broad way of saying it. That you're going to be in that land. So it's not going to feel too divided from like Encanto or Indiana Jones. It's going to feel this like big tropical America's vibe. And the reason I bring that up is because Animal Kingdom has knocked it out of the park for that
Yeah.
type of thing. Like the stylization and the feel and the look of these lands is so much better than and like God, they're already so good in all the lands and all the parks. But something about Animal Kingdom, in my opinion at least, is so over the top and so good that I'm really excited to see how they do this one. And then one of the rumors, or not rumors, but like misinformation online that I'm seeing constantly right now is everyone's calling it Encanto Land.
Oh yeah, it's not. It's like it's that right. Something Esperanza.
Excuse me.
I also think that they are smart for saying out loud that, hey, our Imagineers just got back from our research trip in South America. So, like you said, with Harambe, they really plugged that and showed how they went to the different places in Africa to actually look at what the walls look like and how the street art looks like and how
Right.
Disney is interpreted in those different regions. Yeah, so it's gonna be good. Better than Dinoland USA. Come on.
Oh my
Anyone who
God, please,
anyone who's
anything.
still complaining, I don't understand. I don't understand. Maybe if you grew up with it, maybe, but come on. It's not good.
And like time and place, it had its moment.
Yeah.
You've had it for however long. Like now it's like, let's get something better. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
And then the dinosaur ride fans, I don't understand it either. Like I thought we all agreed that it was bad, it was so dark, it was
Yeah.
rickety, and you can't I guess because we're Disneylanders, right? Like you can't help but know which spots are like the snake and the boulder, and you're like thinking about Indiana Jones the
Right.
whole
Yeah,
time.
totally.
So yeah, I'm not getting that, but I respect the fandom. Got to go out and ride it now before it's gone. All right. Also coming to Animal Kingdom, this was another that was previously announced. They just showed us more concept art, which is, and they confirmed the name. So A Bug's Life uh, Theater. What's the name of the show? Bugs.
It's tough to be a bug.
It's Tough to Be a Bug, which is a 4D theater show that is located underneath the Tree of Life, is going to be replaced with a Zootopia 4D theater attraction called Better Zoogether. And it says, join Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde in a new show at the Tree of Life Theater. And this also has an opening season attached to it, which is next winter. So, winter 2025, you'll be able to experience this attraction. Thoughts on this? This is one of those ones that replace a classic. What do you think?
I think again, it's fine. I did kick myself for about a whole half of a minute until my friend was like, Jen, seriously. Um, but the reason I kicked myself was because I remember I actually really liked that show and I love taking people there if they haven't been on
Yeah.
it yet. It's like one of my
Yep.
favorite things to do. Um, and then when they got rid of it at Disneyland, I was like, that's okay. I can still go in Disney World. And then I've been back to Disney World maybe three, four times since then, and I haven't gone on it one time. And so I kicked
No.
myself. That's my bad for not going on it, right? Um, but then I quickly was like, you're right. It's okay. It's time for a new attraction. Like
Yeah.
it's fun. Let's get some
It
new
still
stuff. And
holds up. I
fun.
was surprised. My last trip with my family, my sister and I went on it mostly to go in the queue. The queue is mass long, meaning it used to be a prime attraction. But
Right.
if you go on the queue, you could see all the cool carvings on the Tree of Life of animals, like very close. So I think, yeah, I think it's going to be great. If that fills the queue back up, that means it's another people eater that helps with Animal Kingdom
Hmm.
lines. And Zootopia is super popular. But yeah, when I watched Tough to Be a Bug last, the animatronics were still great. The giant spiders coming down were still good. The screen itself was kind of but I've always had an issue seeing 3D rides. I'm fine with 3D movies, but 3D rides are still blurry to me. I'm like cross-eyed trying to
Yeah,
look
it
at
does.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Agreed.
see. Hopefully they'll do like, upgrade the technology behind the 3D. And then I'm assuming we'll get some cool animatronics in there. And it seems like it's kind of race or marathon themed from the concept art, which again, going back to the Imagineers trying to stay with as much as they can with the Animal Kingdom theme, it looks like they're going to run us through different biomes of where the different animals live, which checks out with the movie too, when Judy goes on the train ride through the different biomes. I remember
Mhm.
thinking that would be a cool ride one day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That would have been a cool ride.
so we'll see that. Better Together is coming, which means, there's a lot of speculation that it means we, as in Disney World, is unlikely to get a Zootopia themed land anytime soon because this kind of satisfies the itch for a while. So you have to go to Shanghai if you want to see that.
Right.
All right, so let's see the next announcement. Kind of going all over the place, but there was a new nighttime parade announced for Magic Kingdom. And you and I love a nighttime parade. We love nighttime
Do.
entertainment. It's our favorite time of the
Do.
day to be at the park. And that's coming as soon as next year. They just said 2025, but that'll go through the standard Main Street corridor and then wind its way around. Nighttime spectacular, brand new, still led, and at the front of the parade is still the Blue Fairy. So it pays homage to things like Main Street Electrical Parade. And I'm excited because you and I wanted Paint the Night back, but it looks like they've been quietly developing a whole new nighttime show.
Right. Um, Bummer for this section, and I hope it's not jumping ahead, but they did not announce anything for Disneyland for this section.
Like for the live
Nighttime.
entertainment and
Yeah,
nighttime
there's just like
spectaculars.
nothing. And we also like everyone, I think, everyone was like, all right, we're gonna hear about a drone show, right? It seemed like obvious we're gonna get a drone show.
Yeah.
Obviously, not one. They didn't announce one during the whole panel. I was like, oh, in any of the parks. So I was
They
like,
they
oh.
did, but we're not talking about international today, but they announced
Oh
the
yeah, they have it as part of a show, right? There is a little bit of
yeah,
drone action on one show.
and that's where they've been doing it good. It's Disneyland Paris. Every time I've
Mhm.
seen their castle drone show, which combines with the projections, I'm very jealous. But now there's a brand new lagoon they're building to expand into the new land. And that lagoon, it's giving me World of Color with drones and Epcot style low fireworks, which
Yeah, it gave
pretty
me
cool.
illuminations like that
Yeah.
lagoon vibe. Yeah.
There is a lot of drone talk on the internet and on Reddit after that. So you're not the only one to notice the absence of drones.
Something
And
about it just seems like now is the time, like it's hot right now. And
now
it
is the
seems like
time.
not like it's inexpensive to do or anything, but it seems like it's kind of easy because you don't have to like move any attractions around. It's just something that goes
Yeah.
up in the sky, you know?
Just
So it
like
seems like it would be
program
like,
it,
oh, like
one
this
and
is an
done.
easy thing to just do, but they just didn't.
Totally.
So it was kind of surprising. And I don't really mind too much. I'm not like a huge drone show fan, so I'm fine with it. But like, I just really thought that was going to be part of the announcements for sure.
Yeah, you'd think. So most of the fan speculation keeps going back to just United States air laws, and it's so strict about where the drones can go. And then on top of that, guest safety if a drone drops. So that all of a sudden limits the spots in which they could put it. I
Right,
I feel like Epcot Lagoon would be perfect. Just put it on a barge in the middle when it's ready, and then all the drones could just fly up. It won't fall on anybody. So I was
right.
definitely expecting something like that.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
Apparently in
Wonder if it's
France
too
it's less
windy in Anaheim.
true. That's
That's a big
true.
problem. They always have to do the little weather balloon.
They
So,
could do it over World of Color, right? That doesn't fall on top of anybody.
right.
And then the one place where I would love it would be the Animal Kingdom Lagoon. They already have an auditorium, but people are saying that even just the noise of the fans are loud enough to bother the animals. So I'm like, okay, fine, but
Freaking
still,
animals.
it would be good. They did kite tails. I guess those are not too loud. So yeah, new nighttime parade, spectacular, coming to Magic Kingdom, Disney World. All right, so now let's go to Galaxy's Edge, both coasts, Disney World and Disneyland, we are getting a brand new adventure on the Millennium Falcon, which we've been saying for years
Yes.
they need to do that. They have it ready. It's just a video game, which is interesting because they actually admitted that a little bit more this time. They talked about this update during the video game panel, saying that this was built on some of the software that also powers the video games.
Right.
Which, here we go. I'm going to try to dig into your memory box. Do you
Uh-oh. There's nothing
remember?
in there.
Nothing in there. I want to say it was the 2018 Expo where they showed this new Star Wars video game arcade pod and it surrounded you, kind of like those
Yes.
Jurassic Park arcade games at like
Yeah.
Dave and Buster's. And then it disappeared. I'm pretty sure that just became Millennium Falcon. And they just kind of like put it on steroids, created 30 of them on a spinning disc, and now you get to ride it instead of paying like $2 of coins.
That is okay. I don't know why they still can't do both, but they'd have to come out with the game after the ride. Like they'd have to do it
Ooh.
in that order. Like now you can ride the, or now you can captain the Millennium Falcon anytime at Dave and Buster's or whatever, Like I don't think it would be that big of a deal, but having it in the Dave and Buster's first and then moving it to the park would be really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember that. I do remember
Right?
that. And I think you might be onto something because you're right. It is totally just all they had to do was like divide up because like each player is only doing like two controls.
Yeah.
But when you're playing a video game, you're doing like 1,000 things on your little controller, right? So
Yeah.
like all they did was divvy that up inside the cockpit, right?
Yep.
And so
And slap
really it's
on like
probably the same technology.
an amazing facade and queue, like add that at a
Yep.
pre-show.
So somebody
Um,
was sitting at that table was like, or that place called Galaxy's Edge we've all been talking about. What if we just actually let like fans come in and actually get on the Millennium Falcon? They're like, right.
boom. Um,
Okay, I'm with you on that. I can see
there you
that.
go. It seems like it. It's like the evolution of it. And they mentioned it was powered. I looked it up. Unreal Engine. So that powers a lot of the video games like I play too. It'll show up at the beginning. Unreal Engine. So I thought that was interesting. And we're very happy because, at least I'm very happy because the story is going to be Mandalorian and Grogu. So we
Very
get
cute.
to fly along them and do some mission with them. And in true corporate synergy, the uh, the new ride story will debut when the movie comes
The movie
out.
comes out.
Dun dun dun
So
dun.
a couple things. One, the we always said like I wish they would have treated this more like Star Tours where there's multiple missions, right? So now we're kind of getting that, but is it going to just switch over and now be this forever, right? It kind of sounds like
Right.
that. More so, maybe they'll be able to swap back and forth. What are we going to be searching for? Is it coaxium anymore? Because now are they going to have to change Hondo Anaka in the queue?
Oh, so Hondo exists at around the same age in the Mando timeline.
Okay, Lisa brought this up and she goes, "Are we going to have to lose Hondo because?" And we're laughing about it because we're like, "Is that in the timeline?" We couldn't remember where the timeline was.
It's
So
very
thank you for
confusing.
confirming. And Lisa's like, I feel like Hondo would just be like really old. And she goes, oh, they could just say his species lasts like Yoda's, like for a
Right.
really long time. I'm like, there's their way out of everything, right? Like that's
There
it.
always is. There always is. So I think luckily since it is in the same phase or whatever, they just have to change the mission, like you said. And the MacGuffin was the coaxium. There you go. That's a MacGuffin right there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I hope it's something so much cooler. I hate the current version. It just feels like a demo. Like I don't care about fuel rods. So I'm gonna call spiffy on anyone who's complaining that that's gone. Like you can't be nostalgic about that. Come on.
Right. It's still flying the Millennium Falcon. That's
Yeah,
that's what the sell is on that ride.
exactly. So we'll see. I am curious about what you said, if they're gonna rotate or if now that they're comfortable with it, maybe they'll keep adding more often when these new movies come out. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, in true Disney fashion, we're getting some lounges. they made a big announcement about new lounges in the theme parks.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, one of them is pretty cool. So this is as soon as 2025. I forgot to mention the Mando Grogu movie comes out May of 2026. So that's when we should expect the new ride.
Okay.
But two new lounge spaces coming to Disney World in 2025. One is the Pirates Lounge. So this has been announced but not confirmed with details. So this was more of a formal announcement. We got concept art with it this time. They still were kind of vague on where it's going to go in Adventureland. So there's a couple different areas where I think they could put it in. So that's a Pirates themed lounge. So it looks like it's not table service. It's more like a bar snack situation with some live entertainment, which is cool. What do you think about that?
Now, was this part of the blue skying for Beyond Big Thunder Mountain?
No, this was like a random Disney Parks blog post sometime within like the last year or so.
So I remember us talking a lot about like the Pecos Bill restaurant, like that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that one is the fans have wanted an announcement that that would become Tiana's Palace, but they did not announce it. So perhaps it is an extension of Pirates and that becomes something. Either way, that restaurant is not, the food is not very good quality for Mexican food.
Right.
So take it away whenever you'd like.
See ya.
See ya.
Sorry.
Don't want to be ya. Another lounge space is coming to Epcot, which was once a corporate lounge for Siemens sponsors. I hate that name. Sorry. But it's like,
I know they should
what
have
is it?
thought twice about that a little bit.
Siemens Electric Company or something. Apparently, it's really small, so they don't have much to work with. So the joking is already going on about like it's going to be so hard to even get a reservation in that place.
Right.
But it supposedly has a really amazing view of Epcot. So that's
I'm
coming. It's
surprised that this wasn't going to become like a Club 33 or DVC or some kind of
yeah,
special
membership
lounge.
thing.
Yeah.
Same. So this is going to be a lounge open based on reservations, and it's
That
part
one
of
looked like a
Spaceship
bar
Earth.
straight up, right?
Yeah, pretty small.
Okay.
It looked like a bar. They love to call it a lounge, probably to not associate it with alcohol. I don't know. That's my
Yeah.
guess.
They're like, let's get more alcohol everywhere in all the parks because it makes money.
Money and just call it a
Money,
lounge
money, money.
and don't make them strong. Just like
Yeah.
half an ounce.
Right.
All right. So on to the two massive announcements for Disney World. And I say massive because these are the two big ones from the Blue Sky announcements in 2022 that the fans have been speculating, concept arting, arguing over. We finally got some closure, and whether you like it or not, these are the two things that are happening in Magic Kingdom, specifically Tom Sawyer's Island, Rivers of America, and Beyond Big Thunder Mountain. All of that is going away in some form to make room for two major things. One is a cars area. They did not call it a land, a cars
Right.
area. So basically, they're adding cars attractions to Frontierland. So the land is still called Frontierland, but we're going to get two cars rides. And I'm actually pretty excited about this. Like, if I separate it from what we're losing, the ride itself looks pretty cool. So it's described as, hey, it's time to leave Radiator Springs and head west into exciting new locations. To make way for this completely new frontier, Rivers America and Tom Sawyer Island will be transformed into vast and rugged terrains for a rally race with some of the world's most iconic racers. This new area will bring you along for the ride with a brand new thrilling rally race through mountains, climbing trails, dodging geysers, and there's also then going to be a second attraction geared towards fun for the family. So probably one of the flat rides like we see in Cars Land will be added. But this big e-ticket, what I like about it is, again, I think they're listening. They could have just cloned Radiator Springs if they wanted to. And I appreciate that they didn't. They're making this more woodsy. It's like the backside of Frontierland, and it looks a little bit more like the part of Tom Sawyer's Island with more like pine trees versus desert, but it's still the frontier. And they're using like those big four-wheel drive type of animated trucks, like going through the mud. So that's fun. And apparently, it's still the same ride system of the slot cars, and they're both racing, which is interesting because that means now Test Track in Epcot has been one-upped. But I think if they make them different enough that most people won't notice unless you're like, oh, this is the same ride type. So I mean, I get it. I get what they're doing. Cars is popular. I appreciated how well they themed the area in DCA. So I'm hoping they do the same here. But we are losing Tom Sawyer's Island for this, and either all of the waterfront or some of it because Rivers of America is going away. What do you think?
Least exciting announcement that we got for me.
Least.
Um, I hate to be curmudgeon, but I've never been a big Cars fan, so that's a big piece of it, I'm sure. Um, but my Lord, can they please put the cars over on top of the speedway and get rid of that ugly ass thing? That's
Right.
awful. But all I can think about through hearing this description over and over again, even though it sounds bigger and better, I still can only think of our Autopia in Disneyland because you go through rugged terrains and you go through the trees and all the stuff, which is cool, but like even in Disneyland, people want to get rid of Autopia, like it's just like, I don't know, something about having cars in Frontierland, because like while Frontier doesn't mean a certain era, it certainly feels like it. It feels like old Western era. There weren't cars, there were wagons,
Right, wagons.
horses. Like that's what Frontierland feels like to us. Trains, right?
Even the sign, there's a sign when you walk in and it talks about the American West. But they did announce a whole new mission statement, which I think is probably going to replace that sign,
Right,
uh,
right.
like it or not.
So they're trying to like combine like what would the frontier look like today, right?
Yeah.
So like, but I don't know, it just doesn't fit for me. And like the cars being all cute, it makes it worse for some reason. I don't know. I just don't like any of it. It's not sitting well on my palate, if you might want to go that way, right? It's just
Yeah.
like something about it doesn't fit for me and I'm not excited about it at all. But
Yeah.
also quintessential Disneyland for any of the Disneyland version parks, right? Magic Kingdom, any of the other Disneylands, have that river, have the boat, not all of them, but like almost all of them have that
Yeah.
thing going on somewhere in the park, and we're gonna lose that. And that feels weird to me too. Um, for this, if it was for something really cool or something that was like pretty, I don't know. I just can't
Yeah.
imagine making cars pretty. And it fits well in DCA because the whole land kind of
Yeah.
feels like that Cars movie, right? So you're like immersed in it. But now you're supposed to go from like Country Bear Jamboree and go get on the Cars ride, and it just or like the Big Thunder Mountain and go on Cars. Like none of it matches to me. So I don't know.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
most of Frontierland is grounded in reality. And then suddenly there's these magical beings.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I get that.
I
Um,
guess except for the singing bears, but
True. Well, and then Tiana started the beginning of this whole becoming more fantastical than Wild West.
yeah, yeah, true. But she
Um,
fits. Something about that is like,
well,
I don't know.
here's how they tried to shoehorn it. Let's see how they reworded Frontierland. So they said, "We're thrilled to create this original Cars adventure and put our guests in the driver's seat as we quite literally explore a new frontier in Frontierland." And then part of the new statement is part of pioneering this new story includes tapping into the themes of Frontierland like exploration and adventure that inspire so many of us to keep propelling forward. Now that sounds nothing like the American Wild West. So I don't know
Right,
what
right.
just say we're changing it. Don't say it was an evolution. But as even with Animal Kingdom, like at least they're trying to like shoehorn a new story or make it make sense, you know.
Right.
I created an AI art image that I'll post on Instagram later of what it would look like if the cars, like the big part where you see it, where you see them go by, like in Radiator Springs Racers, is at the edge of Tom Sawyer's Island, which would keep the waterfront intact. It won't be a loop anymore, but it would keep it intact, sort of like the way Big Thunder goes by the water. It does that sort of um, what is that coaster term for called where it like goes to the side and turns helix
Bank.
Bank.
Helix.
So even though the concept art pretty looks like the water's eaten up, I still have hope that there'll be some sort of water feature between the Cars attraction and the waterfront today where Country Bears is, and limit most of the car stuff to the side when you walk around to Big Thunder. That's my hope. That's not what's in the concept art, but I agree with you. Like they need water. I love a water
I
feature.
know, I do too.
It just
And it
takes
just
you to
feels
another
wrong that they
place.
don't. Even
Yeah.
losing the Liberty Bell feels weird. It's like,
Yep.
wait, what?
Oh, and here's my other armchair imagineering. Again, this is now just speculation. I would like them to move, let's say they keep that little bit of a water feature, move the Liberty Bell boat over toward Tiana, that part of the water, turn it into the next version of Tiana's Palace in a boat, all the food, live music. That would just be perfect.
That'd be cool.
Yep. And then 20 years from now, you could be eating on that boat saying, did you know back in the day, this boat used to go all the way around what is now this Cars area? It'd be great.
Yeah, they kind
Um,
of, if they can't run the boat anymore, you're right. They got to turn it into something, some restaurant or something.
something. It's a
That'd be great.
waste
That'd be
otherwise.
super
Yeah.
cool. Have some bands play out on the front.
See, and you have to keep a little bit of water for that to happen.
Yeah.
How's that? It's going to be like the Donald Duck one in
I was gonna
Toontown.
say the one in Hollywood Studios. Yep.
Just a little pond. Hey, I'll take what I can get. They also talked about the geysers being a big part of the cars, the new version of Radiator Springs. I try to think of it as that and not Autopia. Think of it as a thrill ride with the slot car style stuff. And I could see the dodging geysers being a pretty cool effect that you could see from the normal area of Frontierland. So let's just hope they do it right. They blend it in nicely. But here's where it gets really cool and jaw-dropping was if you continue behind Big Thunder, you will see other rock work going on, darker, because they announced formally, officially, Villains at Magic Kingdom. So that's the name of a brand new land that's going back there. And there's a lot of speculation on certain things, but here's what we know for sure is that that's going to include one e-ticket that's coaster based and they said shopping and food and dining. So they didn't really announce other things. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more to it, but they're going to wait until what, like 2024 Expo and give us more details because they probably have a couple of different ideas not approved yet, but the land for sure is completely approved and it is happening.
That's
What
exciting.
what was it like when they did the fake out? You thought the parks panel was over, and then the mirror, who I think is called Slave something,
Yeah,
appeared
yeah.
appeared in the back and called Josh D'Amaro out, saying, "Wait a minute, you promised last time a Villain's Land." How was
I love
that
it.
received in the live auditorium?
Um, it was quite insane. We had some Disney Worlders sitting directly behind us, and I hope they don't listen to this podcast because they had the most shrill screams that I've ever heard in my life, like to the point where I had to lean forward because it was hurting my eardrums.
I love it.
And I'm the kind of person where I'll be annoyed, but I never say anything because I want people to have fun. Like I was probably that person at some point, and like whatever. And I'm a woo girl. I woo a lot. So I could probably annoy people here and there, but I let people have fun. But it was to the point where I couldn't hear what people were saying anymore. And it was like literally physically hurting my eardrums. They screamed so loud as if we had never even heard of an idea of a villain's anything. So again, everyone in the amphitheater, I think, forgot that this was something on the table, like a possibility. That's fine. Whatever happens. Even I forget. So I'm
Yeah,
like, I get it. But there were a lot of people around us saying, like, I'm glad they picked that. Because remember, there was numerous blue sky options for what would go in this space.
yeah,
And I think all of us wanted the villain's land. So like
yeah.
that was why that hype was so good. It was because we're like, yes, that's the one. That's the thing that feels good. Um,
Confirmed. We like a
yep,
confirmation. And
yep,
to your
it was
point, it's
nice.
been decades, like even before that Blue Sky 2022, this has been talked about so many times. Different iterations. Like at one point, it was going to be an entire park, either a third gate in California or a fourth or fifth gate at the time, Disney World. At one point, it was just going to be Villains Mountain in some park. but now we're getting a full-on land. They showed us some concept art. What was funny is I was watching on all the live streams and I would go back and forth. So depending on who was holding their camera up in the audience, I also heard the screams and I couldn't hear like that Josh Tomorrow didn't pause enough. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
hear, I can't hear. I can't hear what's going on. So I know what you mean. And then the comments that are just streaming on the side throughout the entire presentation was, where's Villains Land? Where's Villains Land? Where's Villains Land? So when it finally came, it was like, boom, boom, save the best
Yeah,
for last.
yeah.
All right, so they showed us concept art. The concept art had you could see a thorny looking roller coaster in the background. You could see more of the coaster, what looked like underground in a hole that you walk by, which is very cool. And then they showed a lot of rock work, different types of scary castles, perhaps Maleficent's castle, and like her crow, Raven was like up front. And they dropped some hints that not only Maleficent would get a major attraction, but so would Ursula to some degree.
Yeah.
And let me backtrack. They actually said two major attractions, not one. So they did say two. There was some water up front. We love water. That's also could be a remnant of Rivers of America,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Another piece that they chop off. And it looks like you can enter from either Fantasyland or around Frontierland. I'm actually hoping they put the entrance in Fantasyland so
Same.
that, right, these two new areas don't even feel like they're next to each
Yeah,
other.
the transformation from Frontier to Villains feels very weird, but the one
Very
from
weird.
Fantasyland to Villains feels absolutely natural.
Yeah. And
Right.
then they could put
Yeah.
the show buildings beyond Big Thunder, but the entrance
Right.
like over
Right.
there. Ursula, she's already pretty much has a presence in the Little Mermaid ride. What do you think about her maybe getting an entire attraction?
Um, I'm with you. I think that there's so many other villains that don't have any presence that would be more fun to see them. And some more classic also. Like I guess Renaissance is classic now to a lot of people. It's not as classic for us.
Yeah.
It's like what we grew up with versus like, Snow White or Sleeping Beauty. Um, and she is such a big one. I can understand why they picked her. But yeah, we already see her. I feel like when they said something, I think they said like a line she said, like poor unfortunate soul or
Uh-huh.
something. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, Ursula's gonna get some. All right.
Get some.
I was like, okay, but I wasn't like excited. So
Yeah, yeah, same, same Z's. I think they could have a lot of fun with the dining and the shopping, especially if they go back to the way they used to merchandise stuff, where you could only get hopefully like villains merch in this land, and you have to run back there before it closed.
right.
I It's a
Galaxy's
hassle,
Edge.
but I like that. It's more exclusive.
Yeah,
It
I like
feels
it too.
special. Yeah. Um, and now let's move to some of the fan speculation, which I'm really excited about. So this is probably the land that we got, or the project we got the least details on. Again, I think they're going to save it up for next Expo, but speculation is going to happen nonetheless. So people are saying, oh, what if it uses similar track as Journey to the Center of the Earth at Tokyo Disney Sea?
Oh, because that goes down into the hole, right?
Goes down, it goes around, it shoots up out of a volcano. Now here's the thing, it's that was more or less built off test track, which again would be weird to now have a third one. But there's tons of omni movers around. It depends as long as the ride is different. But the reason why people are saying it would be great to use a similar approach to Journey of the Center of the Earth is because that ride is able to stop and pause for show scenes pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love it if the Maleficent attraction is actually all the villains and there's different show scenes so that they could feature all the villains and they could put a story together about why this is happening. But that would be the
That
way to
sounds familiar.
Universal
Yeah,
Studios. OMG. Yep. Like, is this not the announcement to counter Dark Universe Land?
absolutely is.
Right, 1000%. And they're gonna have to create a story about why they all live together in this new kingdom
Yep.
or um but the reason why the fans on Reddit, including me, are hoping for this villain scene based coaster is because then you could finally get the Yzma scene from Emperor's New Groove, where the Kronk the lever, the famous meme. I don't think that movie deserves a full ride, but a scene is the way you could put Yzma into this.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't mind Ursula being in there for the same thing. Like have a
Yeah.
moment of
One
Ursula
part of it.
versus the whole ride for her. Yeah.
Woo! Okay, that's pretty exciting. The fact that they said all of these projects at Disney World are going to either open within the next 2 years or are starting construction. Now all they have to do is nail the landing, no delays, no phased opening where they haven't already said it's going to be phased, and high quality. If they do
Right.
that, they earned all of our fandom back,
Yeah.
all of it.
And you know what? I don't know, like, we obviously don't know exactly what is going to happen with things getting replaced or removed. But from what it looks like we aren't really losing that much, at least officially, right? It looks like we're losing
Yeah,
some dead space. Tom Sawyer's Island, Rivers of America kind of sucks, but again, it's just water. It's not like a whole attraction that we spent our whole life riding, like,
right.
so that part should be a big win for the fans also.
Yeah, I think there's like a corporate office building being relocated that has like engineers or something. Yeah, so it's just like backlot stuff. And one my last sentiment on losing Tom Sawyer's Island, Rivers of America, is we still have the GOAT, greatest of all time. The Disneyland one the is what it needs to look like. I've always thought the Disney World Rivers of America was already a little bit short and different. So we're still going to have the amazing Disneyland version,
Yes, true.
which has a living, breathing stage on the island for Fantasmic. So
Right?
there you
Yeah.
go. It has a much longer, immersive walkthrough. Granted, we lost a little bit of the back of the island for Galaxy's Edge, but not too noticeable for
I
the
don't even think about it anymore at all. It's
right. It's like,
fine.
okay.
Yep.
So that's another one where I call boo on people acting like they went on Tom Sawyer's Island all the time at Disney
Yeah.
World.
I
Come
especially
on.
don't care about their Tom Sawyer Island.
And sometimes they have canoes, but it's like weird. It's not the same. I don't know. I don't like it. Fine. But just keep some
Fine.
water, a little bit of water. That's all we
Yeah.
ask.
Give me some water and the Liberty Bell. I'll be happy.
There you go. All right. Speaking of Disneyland's Tom Sawyer's Island, let's go over to Disneyland.
All right.
We had some pretty good announcements there that also come with some fun fan speculation. So we already mentioned they're getting the Mando and Grogu new storyline at Galaxy's Edge. A big announcement that we've all been waiting for is an opening date for Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Yep.
So they announced November 15th. So just a handful of months away later this year, Disneyland guests are going to be able to experience Tiana's Bayou Adventure in a brand new land. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't catch that. Hold on.
What?
What? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Are you serious? I didn't hear that at all.
This is the thing about being at
Wait, this was
home.
part of the Darren and Chris part, right? Or Darren and Chris. Darren, Chris,
Um,
and Skylar.
no, it was part of, or it was whenever they announced the date. I don't know if that was part of the montage or not.
I think it might have
Yeah.
been. I can't remember. Because he
It's
kind of
not
ran through a
huge.
bunch of like just updates that weren't any like big announcements yet
Yeah, they're like, let's do a quick
during that
montage of
part.
what you
And I
can.
could barely hear a lot of what they're saying, which was sad because they're really funny. I wanted to like hear it very clearly. But
This one became more clear to me when I started seeing the new posters for Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Bayou Country, is what it's called now.
okay. So they're mixing it together. That's not horrible.
And tickled with excitement. I like that they thought about it, but it still leaves Mr. Pooh Bear like stranded. Like, what does he have to do with Bayou Country?
He's the country part of. Wait, you know what? Actually, where is Winnie Pooh supposed to take place? Do we know?
100 Acre Woods in England.
It's supposed to be in England. Dang
Yeah.
it. I knew he was British, but I didn't know if the whole thing was supposed to be there. Darn, because they have like all of those like doesn't Eeyore always get stuck with like thistles or something, and that seems like a bayou-y
Yeah,
kind
and there's
of
like a whole flooding scene, like the rains
yeah,
and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going anywhere because they had said half of the store is still Pooh's Corner, and then you have the new Critter one.
right.
Um, I don't know. That's the one that still feels very out of place. And now it's sandwiched between the remodeled Country Bear barbecue restaurant that
Mhm.
seems like will bring back walk around characters. Again, not confirmed, but speculated. So, I mean, why not just put the new Country Bears back where Winnie the Pooh is?
Because they have to see how it goes first.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so that's coming. We have an opening date. Tiana's November 15th. And then here's the next one that was out of the blue for the most part, at least for us, right? Was there's a new show coming next year, 2025, for the Disneyland 70th anniversary. It's called Walt Disney: A Magical Life. It will debut inside the Main Street Opera House, where currently Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln plays. And it's supposed to be all about Walt's advances with animatronics and his vision for Disneyland. Remind people he is a real person, he's not a fictional character. But to bring this all to life, they have built the most sophisticated, technologically advanced audio animatronic of the man himself, Walt Disney. What do you think?
So this is now the second time in my Disney holic life that a rumor had hit the ground running, and I was like, there's literally no chance. Like, I remember scoffing about this on the first day of D23 to somebody in line. And like, we're complaining about all the rumors. And then I was like, yeah, and somebody thinks there's going to be this animatronic Walt Disney. We would never do that. So eat my words, eat
Eat the
them.
words.
Eat them, Jen. Eat
At
your own
one point,
words.
it was a like a hologram was one of the armchair Imagineering things
That was
too.
my idea
Oh
because I'm
yeah,
like, I'd be okay with that because the problem I have, and the reason I thought they would never do it is because let me just spill my own tea on this. Um, one of the conversations I had about this was that Walt would have loved it. And I agree. I fully agree. Walt was
yeah,
like super innovative. He was really excited. Like that video of him talking about the freaking Tiki Bird animatronics, like you could tell he's like gushing over the technology. Like I really do in my heart of hearts think that Walt Disney would be proud to become animatronic at some point, even especially after his death, actually. I think he would think it would be
yeah.
cool.
Because
I
he
just
did do Abe Lincoln, and he is a real person, and he did that after his
right,
death, right?
right.
Yeah.
So I truly think Walt Disney would be okay with it. However, I do not think that I'm okay with it. And let me tell you why. The animatronics have come so far in the last decade or so to the point where I feel like Tiana, for instance, or the Beauty and the Beast attraction in Tokyo, it looks like they have plucked the cartoons directly out of the films and put them in an attraction for us to visit with, right? Like they look good, like they look like the cartoon. However, real humans, I do not feel are there. Every time I think of Walt Disney as an animatronic, I just pictured that last Jack Sparrow on the end of Pirates of the Caribbean, and like he looked great for the first like 2 years, and now he like his mouth barely moves. And I just feel like things like that, like wear and tear or anything that's just off a little, will look way too weird with Walt Disney. Like if it was
Yeah.
some character or somebody that like even the presidents, which is funny because of course this is a Disney holic and me putting Walt Disney way above any of our presidents because they can look like crap and I don't care. But Walt Disney, he's going to be one guy on a stage and it's very close. It's like up close and personal. And if he does not look real, I think it's going to be weird. Now, with that said, if they have truly cracked the code, and we don't know because we haven't seen it yet, if they have figured it out to where they have this amazing human-like animatronic. Hold on one second. Excuse me. If they have cracked the code for that, then this would be the time to launch a Walt Disney animatronic. So
Yeah.
like with that, and I have like so much faith in Imagineering. Like there's been so many things they've done in the last decade where I'm like, oh no, oh no, and then it ends up being amazing, right? Like even Tower of Terror, I never thought I'd be okay with it changing from Tower of Terror to anything. But the Guardians of the Galaxy ride is amazing. So like they're just knocking it out of the park. So I feel like maybe they came up with this perfect human animatronic and they're like, oh my God, you guys, this is now ready for Walt Disney, right?
Yeah.
There's all this stuff online too. I read early this morning about the family not being okay with it. I thought that was hilarious that they brought one of his family members
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
panel.
I
Like
think
they
it's
addressed
important,
that the
super
family's involved
important.
before anybody could complain.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I think that was so important that they did that.
Yeah. However, it's like his great nephew. So
Oh,
like,
well, got the blood.
did he even meet Walt Disney? I
Got
don't
the
know.
blood stamp.
Yeah, they got the blood stamp. However, the granddaughter, which is known to be very loud, is very upset about it. So that is awkward. But that's
Yeah.
just it's if you dive into the internet, you'll find out about it. It's like she's not, she wasn't at the panel, obviously. So very weird. I have very mixed feelings about it. I am very curious to see how it goes. I am just too awkward about Walt not looking perfect that it would just be like cringy. Do you know what I mean?
Kind of. I think I'm with you on the second half where I feel like they're going to nail it because we haven't seen them do human since all the good cartoons
Yeah,
ones,
they
right?
like pause because it's
And I forgot
trash.
about Jack Sparrow. Um, and I don't know, maybe it's just me or nostalgia, but even like the ones in Spaceship Earth, I still think are good. I know they're animatronics and look robotic, but like the faces and stuff look good.
Yeah, but are
So
you okay with
50 years
someone
later,
that's real becoming that?
I will say because of Abe Lincoln and especially the newer presidents, I think I'm okay with it. And here's the funny catch for most of us. We've never seen Walt Disney in person, only flat on video or pictures.
Right.
So that's going to be a trip just to see him come to life. It's going to be weird. So I can't even imagine the people who did know him that are still in their old.
Ugh, I don't know.
That to me is where it gets creepy.
One of the things too that the granddaughter noted in her statement was like there's I can't remember if she said it specifically or if I'm now like warping it into my own ideas also. So excuse me if I'm wrong, but it was a similar idea that they can now make Walt Disney say anything they want him to say. We have the technology out there to take his
Yeah.
voice and make him say something new. They already did it for the hologram,
Yeah.
right? And so like his likeliness, what is it called?
Like
Likeliness?
likeness? Likeness.
Likeness. And his look and his voice was already tampered with. So like how's that now going to translate over to this animatronic at Disneyland? So I don't know. I feel like he's in the best hands possible,
And in the
but
best
something about it
park.
just feels like it's gone too far for me.
In the best park, if it's going to go anywhere, front of
Yes.
Disneyland,
If
right?
it was Disney World, I would like burn the place down. I'm like, are you for
Why do you
reals?
get?
Like, come on.
They did say in the announcement that they're going to use existing audio clips, so they're not going to go the AI route like they do with James Earl Jones, who has signed away his voice likeness,
Right.
including AI. Um, yeah, and then anyone who's still a fan of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, which is one of the classic Disney rides that Walt Disney created, that will still remain in rotation after the 70th anniversary. So you'll be able to see both on the
That
same
was
day
also
if you
part of
want.
the rumor because they did find this was real. They did find a patent for a turntable going into Great Moments. It's closed down already,
Oh,
so they're already working
yeah,
on it. And so we knew we were going to get some kind of either dual scene show or two different show options with the turntable included. And then the Walt Disney animatronic came out, and I was like, "You guys are so crazy! They're not going to run two shows at the same time. That would be so confusing for guests." So like, especially if they run the Walt one and the Lincoln one at the beginning. Could you imagine
yeah,
there'd be no line for the Lincoln shows, and then there'd be like 5 million people waiting for the Walt Disney one?
yeah.
So we'll see how it rolls out, but it all
And
ended up coming true. So I eat my words.
and how long? Like, is it the 70th year or is it like 18 months before it goes back?
Yeah.
Um, the fun part is I want to take my mom. She is convinced that the presidents were real actors.
Oh, I love your mom so
And
much.
my sister and I always trick my mom, prank her.
Of course
But
you
she
do.
she like pranked herself and she wouldn't believe us when we were like, no, it's
That's hilarious.
animatronic. So it was the opposite prank. And then remember way back in the day, we did an episode about the guests throwing coins at the Lincoln animatronic because they thought
Yep.
it was real. So I think there's going to be people out there that think that it's an actor, which is cool.
Some
That's good for
people,
them. Yeah. So
but
I'll
okay,
say
we'll see.
the older generations.
I really hope I'm leaning on my idea about them having figured it out and being like excited, like, oh my God, we finally can do a Walt. Like
Yeah,
that's I just can't imagine them doing a Jack Sparrow version of Walt. Like I just that would be so weird.
it
And
would
if he
be.
like loses his moment, oh, and I thought about the part like the Yeti when I was on the Matterhorn, I told you it broke down and it slumped over. Like they
Oh,
slump like real people now because they're
ew.
built to be so similar to a real creature or a real human, whichever they are, that when they break down, they die essentially. And like,
Wow.
ugh,
They need to
what that
create
happens?
an automation where if it breaks down, the curtains close in 1 second. Like it's
Please, something. Or like his head falls off like Ursula. Like what's gonna happen in these situations? It's too much for me. I don't know. Ooh,
or
that's a
father
dark place.
from Carousel of Progress, like when his like mouth is all
Yeah, see?
yeah,
Now you're feeling it.
even the new ones break. Like I've already seen videos of like Tiana screwed up and Frozen and all that. So yeah, here's hoping. But
Here's
I
hoping.
think full circle, I think you're right. Walt would love that he has become what he has created.
Yeah, I really think so.
Right. It's
I
like
can't say it. I'm not gonna say
Westworld
it,
or something like
but
that.
I
Kind of
think he
creepy.
would.
All right, so let's go over to Disney California Adventure.
Hmm.
They announced two big things. One was completely out of the blue. Wasn't expecting it here at DCA, which is a Coco inspired attraction. And we all love Coco. Great music, great story, great animation. And it looks like they're going to create a great e-ticket to go along with it or a D-ticket, whatever it is, because they made sure we knew that this was a big scale project. So they said this is going to be an attraction inspired by some of the beloved classics like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, which
Hmm.
tells me that's a good run time. I love a
Right.
long ride, right? Let me sit there for at least a few minutes before I get back
Yeah.
out, please. They're bringing the skeletal cast, so like the Day of the Dead type of look, characters to life in a big way through the latest audio animatronics. So it's going to have animatronics. And the figures will appear in ways you have to see to believe.
I
Very
love
exciting.
this. Did
So
this
cool.
make you think of anything in particular
It made me
when with that
think
last part?
uh the pirates thing where it
Yep, from
flashes.
Shanghai,
Uh-huh.
where
Oh,
they're able to turn them into a skeleton right in front of your eyes, and you're
yep.
like, how did that happen?
Imagine seeing some of the people like the one who sings that we love who came out on stage, Ernesto de la Cruz.
Hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a boat ride based on the concept art. And I'm hoping it is nice and long with plenty of scenes and immersive. Now, this is one where location was not revealed, which
Yeah,
means
that was the
all
big one where we're like, where?
right.
First of all, real quick, just to rewind,
Yeah.
when they announced it, did we have we already seen that concept art before?
No, not at all. There was like a sprinkle of cocoa in the blue sky for Beyond Big Thunder 2 years ago, and another sprinkle of it in the tropical Americas land, which we were learning it didn't go to either.
Right.
And it's
And now it's
coming
coming to DCA.
DCA.
So during that announcement, when it was live, the crowd erupted with just being excited about a Coco ride. And then he slipped in that it's going into DCA, and all of us were like, wait, what? What? Like we all were like, did he just say DCA? Like we were so confused. The concept art immediately made me think of the Mexico Pavilion in Epcot. It was like a flat boat ride with the like land areas that come out, and then they have like things on the side, like the Three Caballeros, right? Like
Yeah.
it looked like just like that. So I was like, oh, of course they're gonna replace it at the Mexico Pavilion, no bigs. And then they're like, DCA, excuse me?
What? And
What?
then the Disney PR team was on top of it. as soon as things were announced, it was then also announced on their Disney Parks Instagram. And
Hmm.
that one was exciting. It showed the leaves, the fall leaves, and the guitar, and then somebody's boot, and it said Coco coming to Disney's California Adventure.
Very cute.
Um, so now the fun speculation, yeah, where is it gonna go? I have my
Right.
own theories, and I see a lot of other theories on Reddit. I'm curious what you think. But my theory is pretty straightforward. I think it's part of that extension that goes across Disneyland Drive, which is part of the Disneyland Forward project where they got approval to build on that space.
Right.
And I think it's going to go there. That seems pretty obvious to me. And then I think the entrance could actually be in Paradise, the Paradise Pier, that corner where they do already a lot of the Coco themed stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have Mexican food there. And if they put the entrance there, nobody will be knowing that they're walking over Disneyland Drive in the queue. Like
Right.
they've done that so many times, right? With like Haunted Mansion and Indiana Jones. So I think it'll be something like that. And the other theory that I keep hearing, which I just completely disagree with, is that it's taking over Little Mermaid. That just seems
Oh
too
yeah, I heard that
small.
too.
It doesn't seem like it could fit the way he was describing it. What do you
Right.
think?
Right. I'm with you. I did think it was interesting that he did not use the words Disneyland Forward one time, like probably strategically, right?
Yeah.
Um, because that seems like it's almost an additional project. They had like, didn't they have like Peter Pan and like a couple other things that are supposed to be in that Disneyland Forward project? So we're like,
Yeah.
is that also going to be like what's going on? So now it's like even more confusing what that whole project is. But I'm confused at how they're going to wrap that area around the hotel and fit all that stuff with it having an entrance being like a corner of the back of the park. That feels super weird. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Um, there's also speculation that at least on the ground at at D23, people were thinking that they're going to get rid of Grizzly River Run and the Redwood Creek Challenge and put something over there. Um,
Interesting.
because yeah, and there's something else coming, which
That
you're going to talk
one,
about in a minute,
that one I
that
don't
has
think.
water involved as well. So if we don't get rid of Grizzly River Run, we're going to have three water rides in DCA, which is super weird.
Ooh, but it is SoCal. It's
No,
hot.
I know
It's warm.
I'm fine with
Yeah,
that, but it's just like most parks only have one water ride. It's not very
true.
common to have a ton. I guess Great America has
And depends
two.
what you consider a water ride, like water based or get wet, like Small World versus Splash Mountain.
True, very true.
The
Oh
reason
yeah,
why,
we have three water rides in that sense in Disneyland too. Small World, Pirates, and Splash Mountain
there
or
you go.
Tiana's.
I also,
Ah,
oh
okay.
wait, don't forget about my favorite
Oh,
Storybook
Storybook
Land.
Canal 4.
Um, I'm hoping they don't touch Grizzly River Run. I never ride it. It's always closed, but it adds so much to the aesthetic of the park, especially for those people at Grand Californian who are paying thousands of dollars for that view. I wouldn't really want to see Coco or Avatar there, which we'll
Yeah, it
probably
would just
talk
be a
about.
big building
Yeah,
too,
it'd be
right?
strange.
Yeah.
So the Disneyland Forward thing had me thinking. I think what happened was, as fans, we follow everything so closely. That was really meant to be an internal project name for getting the city approval for the expansion of the land. It was never meant to be like a land. And so I think you're right that we're not going to hear that phrase as much anymore now that it's approved. And even on the Disneyland Forward portfolio, the thing that went to the city of Anaheim, it says very explicitly that that's concept art. It's like the things that are portrayed here, blah, blah, blah. And it looks like they pulled from like Tokyo Disney Sea and put some of the Peter Pan stuff in there. So yeah, I don't know. If they make it so you don't end up walking over there at all, and it's just a bunch of show buildings connected to the existing DCA, I actually think that would be better.
Yeah, like they have separate entrances to get on the rides that are already in the lands that are there.
Yeah.
I don't hate that either.
Instead of making you walk over, knowing you're walking over to this new
I'm
area.
still having such a hard time understanding where this area exists because right now, back in that same corner where you're talking about Coco entrance being, is a Pixar Pier hotel entrance, which means right
Right.
across the little street is a hotel. So like where's all this space? It's so crazy to think about. And the Grand California Hotel is like kind of in the middle of everything too.
The best way I
Crazy.
think is I've seen people screenshot Google Maps and like do little colored highlights. It starts to get put together. But yeah, there's stuff in all those places. In some cases, it's parking. In some cases, it's part of the hotel building.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go to the big one because this next one's going to take a lot of space
Sorry.
from what we saw. Okay, Ben just did a raspberry tongue out. So the Avatar experience has, which was already confirmed for a couple of years now, they gave us more details and they finally officially said it's going into DCA because we kept going back and forth between land and California Adventure. Um, and here's another thing that I like where I think they're listening, where they're making it, it's not a clone of the Pandora land we have at Animal Kingdom at Disney World. The one coming to Disney California Adventure is a brand new destination on the planet of Pandora. And they're thinking ahead this time because it's going to be inspired by The Way of Water, which is the movie that came out recently, and inspired by Fire and Ash, which is the movie that's coming out later, part three, and inspired by the yet to be titled fourth and fifth film. So by the time this opens, I'm thinking it's going to take a while. It'll probably be open when the full film
Yikes.
thing is completed, and then you get to go and experience it in real life. It's going to have an e-ticket, so that's confirmed. But there's really fun speculation about the e-ticket ride itself, which is based on the concept art. A lot of people are thinking that we are finally going to get Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean, but in the form of Avatar, which is next gen boat ride with all kinds of crazy things. It can spin, it can turn, it's almost trackless. So in that case, I'm excited to finally be able to ride because I keep saying people say how amazing that Pirates ride is.
Right.
And deep down inside, I never loved that it's based on the movies and it's not the actual attraction. 'Cause it's a whole
Right.
different thing then, right? So in this case, they're not even bringing that over. They're just redoing it with Avatar. And it's going to come along with a little bit of a land, some beautiful rock work, a lot of water. What do you think?
I am not a big Avatar fan. I'm not an Avatar fan. Not even not a big. I'm just not an Avatar fan. I guess I was when it first came out because it was such a big deal. Like we hadn't seen stuff like that before, so it was really cool. We hadn't even seen credits like that before. Do you remember the credits on Avatar? Like the first time,
Massive.
like I had a friend that worked on it, so he's like, "Look for me in the credits." And I was ready for that single row of names to come down, and it was just like a wall of names, and I was like frantically trying to search for his name within like thousands of people.
Taylor, is that Taylor? Shout out.
Taylor, yeah, shout out to Taylor. That was nuts. So yeah, at the time it was cool, and then it's been so long. They actually took a lot of pokes at him about his timeline at the Legend ceremony too. But um, I don't know. I think the good thing about it is that James Cameron seems to be like the new PL Travers, and everything has to be perfect. Or
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling, which I don't even want to talk about her right now, but um, just seems like very particular in that it will be really good. I feel like
Yeah.
it's going to be very high quality. So that part I'm excited about. Like he'll be the added pressure to make it even bigger and better and put the budget into it. Um, However, I'm just like meh about Avatar in general. So it's like, I kind of wish it was either something completely new. But let's be real, like it is IP land over DCA, like
Yeah.
more than anywhere else, right? So it is what it is, I guess. I am excited about the ride though. I think it'll be cool. And like the part they said a couple things about it being like there's like a dark, scary portion of the ride. That seems super cool.
Yes.
So I was like,
Yes.
okay, that'll be fun.
And the concept art they showed during the movies panel of the Fire and Ash, it looks dark and kind of scary. Like these new Navi that live in the lava, they look scary AF. Like kind of like
Okay, maybe I'm excited for
voodoo-esque.
that then.
And I think this is one where I do think they should make you cross over a bridge and go into it on the other side,
Right,
near the hotels, kind of like they did with Animal Kingdom. You go over that bridge, and all of a sudden, you're on a different planet.
right.
It would be too jarring to go from I said California screaming, to go from that area where emotional whirlwind is, and all of a sudden you walk into Pandora would be weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's also, I'm wondering if they took feedback from the fans again on this one, because a lot of the stuff that they announced, it was either like very smart way of delivering to where we felt seen, or they actually do listen. I think it's a little combination of both. But there was a lot of speculation or not speculation, but a lot of complaints from people about the carbon copy Galaxy's Edge, right? It
Yep.
would be so much cooler if we could go visit another planet in Disney World versus what's in Disneyland, vice versa, right? So now we have this going for Avatar. It's like two completely different experiences with the same like IP behind it, but
Yeah.
like, you can travel and like do very cool things in either place. So, and
I
at
love
first I
that.
was getting worried because the way they were explaining it at the beginning, it sounded just like another Navi River run. I'm like, oh no, like,
Yeah, that
but
one
then
is
they
not
got a
great.
little more into it. I'm like, okay, no, that sounds like it's gonna be more like the Pirates of from Shanghai.
Like
So
full on worth
yeah,
it. James Cameron demands it. He
right.
demands the best.
And the one in Florida is gorgeous. And we were talking about that a bit on the drive back after the panel. We're like, imagine like, because Disneyland's open so much later than Animal Kingdom, right? So we're gonna have a lot of nighttime in Pandora, in our version of whatever
You're
Pandora is here.
right.
And in Disney World, you only get like sometimes only like if you even get, sometimes it closes at 7 and the sun isn't even down. And if you are lucky and it's the time of the year where the sun does go down earlier, you might get like at least an hour in the dark, but that's about it. Like you
Yeah.
really don't get to see it because of the time that Animal Kingdom has to close.
And
So,
you have to like plan your night around it just to see
uh-huh.
Pandora. Yeah.
Yep. We always make sure we end in Pandora because we want to be there at nighttime. It's beautiful. So I have a lot of hope that Joe Rody stays on as a consultant at least for that because
Yeah.
he did such a good job with the other one. But yeah, very
And what's
exciting.
interesting is if I take away the IP of two things, if Pixar Cars didn't exist and the movie Avatar didn't exist, these two lands, Cars Land and Pandora, are so amazing that they could exist as part of like Disney original things. Like, oh, what if Walt Disney created a land where cars had personalities and he built it? Or what if they created this otherworldly place with things, blah blah blah. Navi. Like they fit in well in terms of like being a land without the thing. Like I don't like Cars movies, but I love Cars Land. Like I could
Same.
just sit there, right?
Yeah,
Same with Pandora. I do like the Avatar movies. I geek out when they come out. But Pandora on its own, I could also just sit there, walk around, hear the noises. Again, at
right.
nighttime, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful.
One more thing about Disneyland Forward is in the description, they talked about the new zoning also including more hotels. So I wouldn't be surprised if, along with either the Coco expansion or Avatar, they add another hotel that's inside the land. We're seeing a lot more of that um, at like Universal Epic Universe. We're seeing that with Tokyo Disney's new fantasy fantasy area. There's a hotel in it, and then Grand Californian did that too. And I think that would be cool. I don't really care about a Pandora hotel, but if there was something looking into whatever else is new as
Right.
part of the project, that could be cool.
That could be cool. All right,
Um,
all right, all right, fine.
there you go. There, I gotta be optimistic. Look toward the future,
Yeah.
horizons. And then there was one more big announcement for DCA, which was a okay, I have a lot of feelings about this, so let's slow
Oh,
down.
okay.
So we have been through how many expos where they've talked about this Avengers e-ticket that was going to be opening with
Mm,
Avengers Campus at one point,
probably at least three,
at
if
least
not
three.
four.
And then the concept has changed so many times between expos and then just through press releases. So now we're at the point where the formal announcement coming to DCA, 100% confirmed by Josh, is we're gonna get a multiverse style attraction. That's they call it an e-ticket, and the entrance will be where the original e-ticket was supposed to be, which is next to the Quinjet and that big building where they do the stunt shows. And then you'll enter through there, and then you'll be taken on a really cool multiversal adventure where now that we're trained as Avengers from the campus, we're actually going to be able to help save the day. And it's going to be using Stark technology, a new ride vehicle that can traverse between the different multiverses, sort of like the way Doctor Strange does, and they did in Deadpool. And the America Sings, what's her name?
America Chavez.
America Chavez. She also has that power with a star portal. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. Cool part about that, it sounds like similar to Millennium Falcon. It's interchangeable,
Yeah.
which also means expect screens. Eh.
Yeah.
And then the rumor is, okay, now this is speculation, that it's going to use a similar ride type as Spider-Man at Universal Studios, which is one of the best rides of all time. And when it came
Okay.
out, it was like a huge thing. It's a good mix
It
of
does kind of look like it,
right?
huh?
It looks like it could be
The
it.
ride vehicle.
The ride, it goes kind of up and down. It's trackless. It can turn towards show scenes, and at some point, the screens and the practical sets are integrated so well that I lose track of what's real, and sometimes it feels like you're falling. So if anyone hasn't ridden the Spider-Man ride at Universal Orlando, check it out. It's
Oh.
a feat
But does
of
it
a ride.
also kind of look like the ride vehicle from Green Dots,
Yes and no.
right?
I would say
Okay.
the difference is, I mean, I would say that the what tipped people off that this could be like the Spider-Man one is the sides are so tall, making you focus on what's ahead of you, so you don't see the stuff on the
Oh,
side.
okay.
Which is also how the web slingers is as well. But
Right.
I'm glad it's not anything like that. I don't want, we don't need
Yeah.
any more of that. But here's the kicker. So we're excited, right? We're getting the e-ticket that they promised. But they also announced a second attraction
Right.
being added to Avengers Campus. What? Out of the blue. Nobody expected that. And it's interesting to say the least.
Ah!
So it looks like a really small ride because there's not much room over there. And it's based on the famous Kuka arm, which Disney now is allowed to use because Universal had exclusive on that for a long time. And but here's where it's weird. The ride vehicle itself is it's a two-seater, your feet are dangling, looks exactly like the original Avengers e-ticket ride concept art that they showed us years ago.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
It's like you're like flying in a chair with rockets on the back, and it's like, oh, how are they gonna do that? Is it gonna be flight of passage? Like, how are they gonna do that?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, people, I remember the Flight of Passage thing.
Mhm. So now this looks pretty much exactly the same, but now we get to see how it's powered, which was is a Kuka arm. So it's called Stark Expo something flight test. And it looks a lot like what you see when you look at people who go to those theme park expos and they see ride demos.
Yeah.
It just and that's literally the storyline they're saying now. It's like a demo of a new technology that picks you up through the Kuka arm and it kind of goes back and forth through a snake. What is that called? What do we call it in the lines when it goes back? Switchback.
Oh yeah.
It's like a switchback of you flipping around on this Six Flags looking Kuka arm. And then
Mad.
Matt,
Six Flags.
supposedly it's going to shove you into some screen-based show scenes, kind of like Harry Potter,
Yeah, Forbidden
Forbidden
Journey,
Journey.
right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they said you're going to meet different heroes from the MCU, and it's going to be different every time. So it's going to rotate. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think of that?
I like Forbidden Journey, and I found myself, I caught myself saying that I'm a big Kuka Arm fan, which is such a weird thing to
It's
say. It's so
cool.
nerdy,
It's so cool.
but it's true. I'm like fascinated with Kuka Arm. So I'm excited we're getting it. Um, I think it's fine. I think there's already, let's see. So we have Guardians, which everyone forgets is part of Avengers Campus. It's
Right.
hilarious because it was their first, right? So we have Guardians, we have Spider-Man, then we'll have that other um Thanos ride, and then we're also gonna have this. It's like four decent-ish rides for the area. So this one isn't a huge e-ticket. I think that's okay. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I think so too. I think so too. It's gonna be like as if you're on a test version of Forbidden Journey. Because like you could
I
literally
fully
see
feel it's
the
gonna be
Kuka
like
arms.
Forbidden Journey, and if it's not, then I'll probably be disappointed.
Oh, interesting. So this is where I differ, only because of the concept art and the real estate space. It looks like it's just taking the ride vehicles from Forbidden Journey and just showcasing it. I don't like how you could see the Kuka arms, but they made it so that it looks like an Iron Man Stark technology arm. I still don't like it. The whole fun part about the Kuka arm is you don't know it's there on Harry Potter. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It does go with the theme of the Stark stuff and web slingers across the campus. Um, it just seems so small and short. Now, the reason why I'm upset about it as a super Marvel fan who's been waiting for this Avengers e-ticket, this is my speculation and mine only, is that the original e-ticket was supposed to be both of those things combined, and you started at the thing at the Stark demo, and then you moved on to the other vehicle, kind of like Rise of the
Oh,
Resistance. Because I'm trying to figure out why was that Cook Arm thing part of the old concept art for the e-ticket. That would have been cool. I guess you could ride them separately now, but how cool if you had this full on like you felt like you were in an Avengers movie, the way you do with Rise of the Resistance, and you're like taken from one to the other.
yeah, but you would have to like depart a vehicle, and get in another one then, right? For that?
Somehow, which we do in Rise of the Resistance, but you're just standing in the one vehicle
Yeah, yeah.
versus sitting and strapped in. Um, so it
Now
is what it is.
let me ask you a question about this because this is one of those things I have not had time to research. But I remember Josh Tomorrow saying some kind of terminology for both this and the Monsters Inc. door ride that something's going to come in and pick us up. And it sounds like you're originally not going to be on the Kuka arm and then it's going to grab you and take you. Is that
Yeah.
part of it?
Yeah, so it looks like you're sitting in the yellow chairs with the thing over your shoulders, and then you're on like a switchback just rolling around, and it's telling you about Stark technology. Then it gets to one point where they showcase the Kuka arm technology, and then it sticks to your back and then it lifts you up.
Okay, they're
Totally
really into
cool. I think
this
it's cool.
whole thing now. There's a couple Universal rides too that have some kind of thing they've never done before, like jumping the track or whatever,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Hagrid's has
Okay.
an elevator roller coaster. The Mummy, way back in the day, had one where the track drops and connects another track. The Monsters Inc. one, so cool. So cool. Because they have limited space wherever they're building this, there's no lift. There's no incline lift. The door thing is going to grab you and pull the whole train up to the top of the track.
Wow,
Pretty cool. And you're
nuts.
suspended. So it's like, woo, you're hanging. Very cool.
Oh, nuts. Okay, that's pretty cool.
And it's in theme too, right? I like how it's in theme.
Yeah, yep.
So yeah, so Avengers Campus is expanding in a huge way. We're finally getting the e-ticket and then this like side thing. But I think we needed it. It's completing Avengers Campus. It always felt empty. It always reminded me of Galaxy's Edge before Rise of the Resistance opened.
Yeah,
It's like missing something. And to your point, Guardians was already there. If that opened up as an e-ticket with Avengers Campus, it would have been mind-blowing, but it didn't. So
but it didn't.
but it did. Um, but yeah, so that takes us through Disney World and Disneyland.
Woo!
So many announcements. My goodness.
So many. This was already a very long episode, and we had so much more planned to talk about.
Right.
So yeah, get ready for a few more of these D23 wrap up conversations. Before we let you guys go, though, I wanted to send out a reminder to our patrons and on our Patreon page that we are having a 200th episode celebration party this coming Sunday already at 4 p.m. So make sure you mark your calendars. We're going to be sending out those calendar invites soon. The invitation is already up on our Patreon. Take a look at it if you need to save the date. And we can talk about all this stuff together. So it'll be fun. So hope to see you all there. All right. So, woo, parks and not so much experiences because, man, we had enough to talk about, but just the parks this
Just the
time. But we
parks.
went through all of the new announcements for what we're going to get to experience in our parks at the D23 convention or D23 Expo or just D23,
Yes,
whatever you want to
D23.
call it.
And you have a lot more coming up. We're going to talk through the experience, the show floor, the panels. There's also, like you said, there are more announcements at parks and resorts too. Well, thank
right?
you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed episode 202 of the Disneyholic Show.
Follow us on social media at the Disneyholics.
And if you want to get in touch, send us a DM on Instagram or contact us at thedisneyholics.com.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.